At a young age, we're extremely selfish. We think about ourselves and ourselves only. It's not until later on in life that we quickly learn that there's so much more to life than just us. Today's guest is a content creator, YouTuber, a swing trader, an entrepreneur, a businessman. But most importantly, he's a man who has learned to appreciate life because of the things that he went through recently, in fact. Because with every ups in life, there are downs. And sometimes the downs seem so unbearable, it's hard to move on. And how do you move on when you're not motivated anymore? When you feel like you lost everything? When you feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel? What do you do? My guest today is Brad from Own the Chaos. He's had a lot of ups and downs, and today he's going to share those with us. So if you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Click the thumbs up if you enjoy this, and of course, share my podcast with other people. So let's get to it. Welcome, Brad. How are you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. This is going to be our second time because the first time we had internet and technical difficulties. So you made it happen. So for the audience who may not know who you are, please tell my audience who you are.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Brad Smith. I am the creator over at Own the Chaos. I have a YouTube channel. I've been on YouTube for 7 years, and it's primarily focused in stock market and kind of like anything else that I really want to chat about related to business or what have you.
Okay. Yeah. And I met you through your earnings coverage. But I didn't realize that you had a YouTube channel for 7 years, but I enjoy coming to your channel specifically for the earnings report because you're very humble. You don't try to act like you know everything. You get the numbers pretty right often, and then you kind of give your opinion and talk about it. You have a pretty good, decent audience that shows up for these earnings reports as well. So it's definitely really awesome. So you said 7 years you've been doing YouTube.
Yeah. Yep.
Prior to that, what were you doing?
I was working for a financial firm called T. Rowe Price. Some people know, some people don't. So every time I say it, I was like, it's a financial firm. It's actually headquartered in Baltimore. I was born and raised in Maryland. And so it's kind of like a pride thing. Everybody's proud of having, T. Rowe Price there because everybody else is in New York or Charlotte or, wherever. So it's pretty cool. It was actually a great company to work for. But and I just had a passion for finance and then ended up creating a YouTube channel out of it and decided that I didn't want to be in the corporate world anymore and bet on myself. And it seemed to work out pretty well.
Did you go all in, or was it kind of like a slow transition where you just started a YouTube channel first and then still had your 9 to 5 and eventually you transitioned 100%?
It's interesting. I think it's a little bit of both. I started the YouTube channel when I was still working at T. Rowe, and then it was probably a little over 6 months. Maybe it was about 8 months. And then I finally just decided to jump ship and go all in. So, it wasn't really a long time.
Wow. Okay. Well, did you have like a pretty good subscriber base at that point? Or was you just like, I'm going to go 100% into my dreams?
Yeah. By the time my last day of work, I had 5,000 subscribers. So it wasn't like I was blowing anybody's doors off, but I ended up creating a business out of that. And it was enough to sustain myself and actually do even better than that. I built a platform with my partner, and we had lots of dreams and ambitions about it. But, we made multiple pivots. But at the end of the day, I was actually just talking to him the other day. He's like, we made so many mistakes. I was like, yeah, but we were profitable from day one, which not a lot of businesses would say. So it was fun. It was a huge learning experience. And I loved every second of it.
So when you started, though, you said you started in finance. What were you specifically doing? Is talking about like fundamentals or financial literacy, trading? What was it that you started with?
As far as the channel is concerned?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I cut my teeth a lot on penny stocks. So specifically over-the-counter penny stocks. Had a lot of friends in that space that, did really well for themselves. That's kind of where I started. And I actually started to, you go back to some of my first videos, they're pretty cringeworthy, but I explained to them, what exactly over-the-counter penny stocks were, what is a penny stock, and how to trade them, and what to look for, what's bad and what's good, and how to avoid getting really taken to the cleaners with penny stocks. Obviously, everybody still does their own thing, but it was a really good time. It was a really tight knit and very super niche area for over the counter stocks, which is really where Own the Chaos kind of came from. because the OTC, acronym, it's kind of how it started, and then it just evolved from there.
Because are you familiar? I mean, clearly you probably are. Timothy Sykes.
Yeah.
Is that?
Oh yeah.
Did you learn from him at all? Because I know he was like the penny stock king. He was I think one of the first people to sell courses and stuff when it comes to learning how to trade penny stocks. I literally have a stack of his books. I didn't buy it, but one of my coworkers, he bought the program, I think years ago. It was like $5,000 or something like that, $6,000, and he just never opened it. He was like, "Do you want it?" I was like, "Hell yeah!" So I grabbed it. Is that where you started learning penny stocks from?
First of all, how do you spend $5,000 on something and don't use it? Or
trust me, it happens quite a bit in the trading world. So
that's ridiculous. But no, I did not actually. I had a long-term friend that was a friend of our family who made a living off of trading over-the-counter penny stocks, and I learned from him. He still does extremely well for himself. You would never know. He's one of those millionaires that you'd see him walking down the street, or he drives he bought his car used, like he just lives in a simple neighborhood. You just would never know that he was a multimillionaire. But yeah, that's who I ended up learning from.
Wow. Okay. And I'm assuming you were pretty successful at it.
Yeah. In the beginning, I was definitely successful. I mean, of course, I had ups and downs. I blew my account up twice before I actually ended up getting the hang of it, because I thought I knew better. And I'm not a gambler by any stretch of the imagination, but you start to get that gambling mentality of just like, oh well, if I hold on to this long and I have this many shares and it gets to this price, I'm going to be, it's going to zip code changer type of deal, right? So you start getting those things in your mind, and so you want to hang on to things, and then realizing that they're penny stocks for a reason, and
pumping ups.
Yeah, the show doesn't always plan out the way that you hope it does. So being able to learn how to take profit when it's given to you was certainly the biggest challenge that I had to overcome.
Yeah, I feel like almost every single trader that I know at one point or another started with penny stocks, right? Yeah. I did as well. Just like a couple bucks, not much. I never got heavy into it where you could where I could lose a bag or anything like that, or blow up my account. But it seemed to be all the rave before 2020. It seemed like a lot of people were really into the penny stock industry.
100%.
And it's got to be somewhat hard, right, to make a living doing that, because you need to invest a lot of money. Am I correct?
No. So in the early days when I was trading with $1,000 or less, and then going from there, because what I was trading was penny stocks that were fractions of pennies, 001s, 002s, and even in some stocks were in the 000. So like I could drop $1,000 on a 000, I don't know, 5 cents per share, and then it gets up to a penny, and then you just made yourself a hell of a lot of money, especially if on a stock that has low float or what have you. And you start looking through social media platforms and people starting to build hype on it. And so there are times that and this is with anything, right? I mean, you look at NVIDIA and just the hype that's surrounded around that. There's just a much more massive amount of people that are pouring their money into that. But you'd have a small amount, smaller community getting hyped around a particular penny stock, and then you kind of just see the writing on the wall, and you're like, okay, there's people are getting crazy about it, so let's just ride the wave and see where it goes. So yeah, you can make a lot of money, or you could. The over-the-counter penny stock space right now is, I would say, dead. And we can get into that if you want to, why I think it's dead, and I don't know if it's ever coming back.
No, I would love to. Yeah, please explain, because I'm not seeing too many people talking about that anymore, the penny stocks industry. So I mean, clearly it must be dead. So, but why do you think it's dead?
Yeah, so just to be clear, I loved trading penny stocks. I loved being over the counter penny stock space. The people there, for the most part, are really good people. It was a really good tight knit community of just traders just looking for filings and dormant companies that kind of like revived again. And you're like, well, then you start to do investigative work and try to figure out, okay, why is this reinstated? Why did they go back through the Secretary of State and revamp this particular shell or whatever? So sometimes they could be a bit scammy. There is a dark side to penny stocks. You have to be careful with that. But sometimes there's diamonds in the rough. And so that was definitely a fun part of kind of like dissecting and discovering penny stocks and what was going to work, what wasn't. But really, I think what started the destruction of over-the-counter penny stocks was the free commission movement. So you had Robinhood started it, right? Like what, 2015, 2016. And
I
then
think before that, I think, because I think the first thing I ever bought on Robinhood was it Square? Yeah, it was Square.
well, I mean,
Square, and that was in 2012, I think. I could be wrong. Maybe Netflix as well.
it could be. I just remember it getting really big.
Yeah,
in that
yeah, it did.
2016 area, time frame. And so then, that's when I really started to think about getting into YouTube and stuff. And I guess it was like 2019 when we heard from Interactive Brokers, Charles Schwab, TD Ameritrade, they all went to free commissions.
Right? That changed the game.
But it was free commissions for everything other than over-the-counter penny stocks.
Yep.
So you could trade anything else that you wanted, but you had to pay $7 to trade whatever over-the-counter penny stock was available to you. And some of those platforms, such as Robinhood, don't even allow you to trade over-the-counter penny stocks. So the more those platforms got popular, the less money and volume was coming into the OTC world. So it was, I think, the beginning of the end. And then, of course, COVID hit and it got even more popular, and people just were making so much money on bigger board stocks and options started to get really popular. And I think that it just didn't seem to catch fire like everything else did. And so now it's even worse because the markets, of course, are down and people are less interested in trading in general. And so it just seems as if, to me, that the OTC, unless somehow some brokers kind of get on the bandwagon with that, as far as like the availability and what have you, to expose the OTC world, I don't see how it comes back. Plus, there's a regulatory side of it as well that continues to get tighter for them too.
That's an interesting perspective. I was also thinking maybe one of the reasons why it also died out, I feel like that penny stock movement maybe moved to crypto with all these different coins. It seems to have like the same thing, pump and dumps, random coins coming out of nowhere, people just pouring money in there, waiting for it to go up and then selling. And then people who don't get off the train get burned. Is it very similar, correct?
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. What I will say is, though, like I remember during the crypto craze in 2017, 2018, I mean, anytime an OTC even whispered the word crypto, those stocks went the hell off. And it was the same type of Wild West type shit, right? Like it was just, oh, well, we're getting into crypto, the stock goes nuts, and then it just falls off, because it's like, well, that's the only catalyst we have right now. We really don't have a plan. We're just getting into crypto. And so people would leave, right? So, and that's kind of what happened to the crypto space in general. So yeah, I think there's some truth to that, but it certainly helped it for a short period of time too.
Yeah. So since you are also like a day trader and you've dealt in the penny stock realm, specifically OTC stocks, at this point, do you even recommend people even try it out anymore?
So just to clarify, I don't really day trade. I've dabbled in it, but I wouldn't call myself a day trader. I'm more of like a intermediate long-term swing trader, I guess. But if I were getting into the stock market now and didn't know anything about it, I would go the route that most people are going right now. Just getting into good quality stocks that you already know or heard of, and then kind of going from there. If you have expendable income and you want to, throw some risk at smaller penny stocks, then yeah, I would say that there's certainly an opportunity there. But I think that the liquidity makes it really difficult to get in and out of those stocks. Especially like, if you have a large amount of money that you're messing around with, makes it even more difficult. And so I think if you don't know what you're doing, it could be really dangerous to mess around in penny stocks. Of course, you don't need a lot of money to get into the game, but there's, options that you can learn that have come with their own risks, right? But like, I think there's so many better opportunities that are afforded to us now than when I first started, that I would say I probably would not tell people to do exactly what I did starting out.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm not familiar with the OTC world. That's the reason why I'm asking. I think I bought 1,000 shares of some company once. It moved up like a penny or two. It was a recommendation from one of my friends. He did some research, and I didn't realize it was over the counter until it told me it was over the counter when I tried to purchase it. And I was like, okay, let me just buy it and see what happens. And I made like 10% that I got out of it. I didn't like it. It didn't feel right, investing in something that was like 4 cents or something. It just was weird to me. Do people in the OTC world, do they use these over-the-counter stocks as like an investment opportunities as well? Or is it just mostly like a trading thing?
It's mostly just a trading thing. I've rarely seen anybody just actually invest in over-the-counter pennies. Very rarely that I've seen them turn into legitimate companies that end up getting uplisted to NASDAQ. I have seen them, but they're few and far between. So, and those stocks, those are the 10, 20,000% movers that take place over 6 months, like the crazy and wild moves. But again, there's a kind of like a few and far between type of situation. The rest of them, it's kind of like, let's just ride the wave and see where it goes type of deal.
Yeah. So the reason why I want to bring you on here, because I'm a fan of your channel. You seem like you're a real genuine dude. I went back to and watched some of your content and everything. And you talked about, you started a YouTube channel, you got out of the business that you were in your 9 to 5, and you went all in on Own the Chaos, right?
Yeah. Yep.
What was your business plan for that? Because like I'm also in the YouTube space, and I find it very intriguing because like you saw YouTube, this is going to be an opportunity, this is going to be a business, and we're going to treat it as a business, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
So what was your business strategy? Like what was the goal overall? Because I'm assuming it wasn't just like let's make money off of AdSense.
Yeah, no, definitely not. So there was a couple of ideas that me and my partner at the time, Jake, we had created this. We had built this idea that we were going to build a website, and it was going to be a platform that was a social media platform for traders. So we actually built it all out, and it was going to be free, and we were going to make money based off of sponsors and that sort of thing. We also had other alternative forms of income, such as I ended up building a OTC course. And then, because back then I was kind of like, well, I just saw Ricky Gutierrez making a shit ton of money. Like I could do that. That's not really that difficult. And could people look this up? Sure. But it's all right here. It's a nice condensed little package, a couple $100. There you go. And so we were like, okay, well, if we're going to build this social media platform, maybe not just have it be about one person, not just have it be about me, but maybe there's other people that are trading out there that have other strategies that seem to work for them. So we invited other market, folks like we had Connor on there, a couple of other people that were traders on YouTube, and we just introduced them to our platform. We're like, hey, we're kind of creating this social media platform for traders only. We would love it if you had your content on our site or what have you. So they would come on, and then, we'd do some sort of split with them on anything that any products they wanted to sell. So that was the business model. And, some of it worked, some of it didn't. And that's just kind of how business goes. But it was a great experience. And I thought the concept was really cool. Just never really truly got off the ground. But it was great.
So it's essentially kind of like what Reddit is now?
I wouldn't say it was kind of like Reddit. It was like Udemy meets StockTwits.
StockTwits. Okay. I haven't been on StockTwits, but yeah, I've noticed that is like a social media platform for like traders and stuff. So in that platform that you had designed, was it specifically just for creators and then the audience couldn't interact with them? Or was it just more like, hey, this is where creators can put their content?
No, it was like an open forum. So you could search a ticker and see what people are talking about it. So like if you just searched Apple, for example, it'd be like everybody who's talking about Apple giving their own due diligence or things that they're seeing. And so like people could interact with each other on that specific ticker. I love that concept, just like giving that community feel. And then if people wanted to take it a step further and learn from somebody who found success, they could. But if you just wanted to live on there for free and chat with your friends about whatever it is you wanted to chat about, then that was available to you too.
And you said you reached out to like other YouTube content creators, traders, and stuff like that as well, right?
Yeah.
Did a lot of them sign up? Like big names that we are aware of that's still around?
I wouldn't say big names, but Connor Poliferone, I mean, he's got 250,000 subscribers on YouTube. He was probably the biggest one that was interested, and then ended up just not working out for him. No hard feelings. We understood. But yeah, I mean, I would say he's probably the biggest one, but we had plenty of other ones. A couple of people that actually traded under Timothy Sykes and became successful, or even with him. The guy that I mentioned that helped me trade over the counter penny stocks, he actually knew Timothy Sykes before he was Timothy Sykes, and Jason Bond as well. So like, and he had been trading since like penny stocks were trading in fractions, not in decimals. So he's seen a lot, but yeah. So we had a fairly decent amount of people in there, but that was probably the biggest name we had.
So not to try to bring you into drama or anything like that. Yeah. Now, the guy that worked underneath Timothy Sykes before Timothy Sykes was him, did he say anything about Timothy Sykes? Like, is that guy a grifter or not? Because I've gotten mixed feelings from him. Some people have reached out to me, said the guy's a scammer. Some people said he's not a scammer. I saw an interview of his recently, the past 2 years or so, and he's been really upfront. He was, I think, the first trader that I saw who went on someone else's platform, and that person asked him, was like, do you make more money selling courses or trading? And he was like, I make more money selling courses. He's like, he's like, I'm more of an educator. He's like, I like educating. I barely trade anymore. And that was like the first person I saw who was like really honest and transparent like that. But at the same time, I keep hearing people say, oh, he's a scammer. So like, what's the feedback you guys, since you've been in this space a lot longer than I have, especially in the OTC space?
I mean, look, he's not a scam. Is he somebody who has a ton of influence to where he mentions the specific stock and people start to pay attention to it? Yeah, he's also that. But go on CNBC and see which stocks people are talking about on there, and then watch the movement happen. Right. So like, that's unavoidable. I don't fault Timothy for that. And what I will say is that, he is a legitimate trader, but some people just don't like his ethics when it comes to sales. I've heard a lot of people say that he would sell his mother's house to somebody if it meant he could make a penny. You know what I mean? So like, I think it's just that aggressive sales nature that turned people off. But as far as like him being a legitimate scammer, I have not seen any proof of that. You can speculate all you want, but at the same time, it's like, well, unless you can show me where he actually committed some sort of fraud or scam, I'm not going to really buy into that. And some of the people that I've talked to, it's like, they don't like the way his courses ran. The community wasn't great, and that's fine. That's something that you can create an opinion off of based off of what your experience is. But to sit there and be like, yeah, he's a straight up criminal, I just don't know if I've ever really seen that.
Yeah, and he's been around so long, and he's never been arrested or anything. There hasn't been any lawsuits that I'm aware of either. So there must be something legit about him at least. But like I said, again, he's been on platforms and he said, I make money selling courses. He's like, he sees himself as more as an educator. Mm-hmm. He had the ability to be able to trade off of penny stocks. He said he made a pretty penny on it on the beginning. And that's when he started building his program. And he said other people have made money as well. So, I mean, the guy's still around. He's clearly not as popular as he was back in the day because, like you said, the OTC space is somewhat dying. So I don't see him like in the forefront of the day trading sphere anymore.
Right.
So, okay. So go back to your business. So you started this platform. Sounds like a pretty cool idea, to be honest. What happened?
It just didn't get enough interest. And with it just being the two of us and essentially one coder, it just ended up being that we had a lot of bugs. We created a lot of things from scratch and just didn't develop enough income to really support bringing on other coders that could take care of some of those bugs. So we had a lot of people like complaining about it and what have you. So, it's just like with any startup. The biggest thing what truly comes down to is just money and having the right people in place. For us, we didn't have the money to really keep going with it, and we didn't have nearly enough people in place that we hoped we would have, which we then needed the money for. But we actually ended up going to a couple of venture capitalist conferences and stuff like that, just to try to see if there's any interest. And there were some, but I think that I don't know. I just don't think that there was enough interest in it, which it sucks. It's because I thought it was a cool idea, it was a cool concept. And there was some interest in there, but I think mostly it was because of the loyalty that I built within my community. I don't think it was like this mass interest, so that that was tough. It was a tough pill to swallow, and ended up just having to pivot from that, and then ended up getting into some trading bot stuff. And that started to get off the ground. And then, my other business partner, Christian, ended up getting diagnosed with brain cancer. And so that kind of like threw me for a loop. And the things kind of ended up going south after that. We just didn't really continue to pursue it.
So how long did you spend, like how many months or years did you spend on trying to do the platform until you said, you know what, it's not working. This platform is not working. Let's move on to something else.
We gave it a good effort. I mean, I would say probably about 2 to 3 years. We really, and it was every day. We were focusing on something new, trying to develop something better. With the, and people really don't realize the cost that it takes to just get real-time data from the stock market. Right? So as I had mentioned, you could search Apple and then talk about everything that you wanted to talk about when it came to Apple. But we wanted to be able to search Apple, have all that information. Like when you go to look at Seeking Alpha or Yahoo Finance or whatever, you have all the info of that specific stock. You can see the price change in real time. And that costs like $12,000 to $20,000 a month.
What?
Yeah. Some of that stuff does. And the Bloomberg, I believe, is 20 or 30,000 a year?
Oh, the Bloomberg, what's that called? I know you're talking about. It's like a separate thing, huh?
The Bloomberg terminal.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, I've seen that before. When I saw the cost, I was like, no, thank you. I don't even know what that's meant for.
To snag their APIs, it's ridiculous. And so we tried to do a couple workarounds, like with IEX, that was cheaper. Some of that stuff was free, but it never really was as accurate as it should be. And so there's just a lot of challenges. And like I said, money was a huge part of it, of course. But it was, like I said, it was a great experience. I thought the concept was cool. I just don't know if we had enough interest, or maybe I just didn't have enough influence at the time to really kind of get it off the ground.
And it's got to be definitely a hard pill to swallow, like you said, for 2 to 3 years, day and night, putting into this company that didn't pan out, right? A lot of people don't realize when it comes to running a business or even starting a business, there are a lot of challenges, and it's not easy. I think a lot of people have this perception that I could start a business and I'm going to be successful tomorrow.
It's easy.
Yeah, it's easy. And I think, unfortunately, that part of the reason why people have this perception is because so many people on YouTube always create videos and ideas of like, this is how you can make $720 in a week or whatever. And not realizing that these guys are just doing videos. They don't even do this stuff themselves. So it's very rare when you find a person who's actually doing what they're saying in the video, if that makes sense.
Well, and if they do it themselves and they actually are successful, it takes work, right? I mean, they're putting that work in. It's not like it's here it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Of course, it seems simple, and in a lot of cases it is, but it takes a lot to get to that point. So I don't want to knock everybody who puts out videos like that, because some of them are legit. It's just, and the other thing, right? The other thing about that though too is that there actually isn't. It might seem like there's a lot of people out there that do that, but the people that are successful on YouTube specifically, it's a very small percentage compared to the amount of channels that are out there. Mm-hmm. So it gives this false impression that you could just, if you're just on YouTube long enough, you'll end up becoming successful. But if you're not improving, if you're not working, if you're not reading the market, if you're not able to pivot, then you're just going to be stuck where you're at.
I agree with that statement for sure. Because so then you end up pivoting to a bot. So full disclosure, and just to be transparent with you, I don't believe in that stuff, the bot stuff. So I've had negative experience with every single bot that I've tried. I've had some friends who started one I don't think exists anymore, but I bought into that program as well. A waste of a couple $1,000, but I mean, I don't blame them or nothing. It was we all tried it. It didn't work. It is what it is. But what made you decide to go the bot route?
Because of the coding experience that Jake had, and it was something that he was really kind of fascinated with, and to be fully transparent, Jake has actually done a really good job. He stepped away from the WeTrade HQ business to pursue this, which I totally was in support of, and he's crushing it. He's with a hedge fund right now that they build algorithms and trading bots for their firm, and are 60% independent. They're using a third party algorithms right now and but they're on their way to building their own. So there's certain strategies that you can set in place where their automatic trading makes sense. But I would agree for the large portion of the industry so far, it's so hard, it's so difficult because things are ever changing, and it's really hard to kind of gauge, the emotions of a retail trader, or even some of the bigger institutions that trade off of emotion just like everybody else. So there is that element, but I think they're starting to figure it out. Especially, it'd be interesting to see how it all gets applied to artificial intelligence and how fast that actually evolves too.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to be clear, I know, as I said, I don't believe in bots. I meant like the bots that are like public for retail investors.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the ones on Wall Street, because clearly they definitely have programmers and bots and things that work, but obviously that's proprietary technology or information they have, so they can't share it with people. So that's very different. But I am very curious, because I'm seeing a lot of videos pop up on YouTube now where it's like, ChatGPT helped me make 1,000% on this stock and stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh, it's so cringe. I'm like, because I feel like you're preying on people now who are getting to this AI space and thinking, oh, I could have AI trade, make me a millionaire. And it's not really like that. So it's
too good to be true. It usually is.
Yes, exactly. If it's too good to be true, it usually is. Okay. So I'm assuming you guys started to bot stuff. What happened with that?
We actually made some headway. We saw some success with that, but as I mentioned earlier, my partner Christian ended up getting brain cancer, and he was my ride or die on YouTube. He was my co-host, and we really kind of like my business developer. He handled all that side of just like the administrative stuff and what have you. So then when he got diagnosed, it kind of threw me for a loop, and I just kind of put the business and everything kind of like on the back burner, and I just kind of let it go. It wasn't really necessarily anything in particular that I didn't think it was going to be successful or anything like that. It's just that I just kind of fell out of love with it for a little while, and just had other priorities that I wanted to focus on, like him and just my own life and all of that.
Yeah. Are you okay talking about Christian?
Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. So just so people don't know, Christian is Fat Man Zoom. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
He was also a YouTuber that recently passed away.
Yeah.
So you said he was your business partner. Was he your business partner from the very beginning, from Own the Chaos? Is that?
So Christian was actually, he was my college instructor. I went back to, in my early mid 20s, I was working in blue collar, decided to go back to school, went back into school for business, and then ended up having him as an instructor for like a business management class. We hit it off, and like we're friends ever since. So we were friends for the last 12 years or so, and he stayed in contact. And then he ended up finding out that I was starting this business or whatever. We would meet like once a month, just like for lunch, just to catch up with each other, see what we were up to. Because he was like super in the business too. He had a consulting firm for other businesses, and he was like, he's like, this really fascinates me. Would you be willing to kind of like have me on, and just as from a consulting standpoint, would love to just help you out and build things up. And I was like, yeah, sure. So then I like brought up the idea of like him actually coming on camera, and we talked about business stuff, and then it just evolved into him just being part of the Own the Chaos in general. And so he was on all of my live streams. We did all kinds of stuff, and it was really a lot of fun. So we end up becoming really close in that way. We spent every day with each other, and it was just it was a really great time in my life.
Where did the name Fat Man Zoom come from? He used to be fat or something?
So it was an acronym for his favorite stocks, like his portfolio of stocks. So it was, oh my gosh, Facebook, Apple, Tesla, Microsoft, Alphabet, Netflix, and Zoom.
Oh, okay. I could never gauge. Like I said, I was going through your content. I'm like, he must have been fat or something. Maybe that's why. And then you guys do Zoom sessions. So I was like, maybe that's why he has that name. Okay. So did he ever have his own channel as well, or was it just specifically just on yours?
He dabbled with his own channel, but it was never something he committed to.
Okay. So he was more known just from being with Own the Chaos.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I got you. No, and it totally makes sense. like once you're faced with death, or once you're around someone who's really close that passes away, you do see life very differently, right? It's no longer about, let's see how much money we can make right now. It's really like when you say he got diagnosed, which I saw the video, you did an amazing tribute to him, by the way. I do encourage everyone to check it out. I could tell how emotional you were in that video, and just watching it was really sad. I even showed it to my wife, and she teared up. So,
oh wow, I appreciate that. Thanks, man.
yeah, and she was like, "That's really sad." And he seemed to still be in very high spirits, it seemed like, on camera. He talked about it. He's like, the doctor say I only have a couple months to live. And he's like, still smiling and stuff. So that had to be jarring. And when you guys found out, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So his first seizure before we even knew he had anything was about an hour before we were supposed to go live. And it was right in the studio. Like we were sitting right on our table like we always do, planning the day out. And then he just started like slurring his words real bad. And then he just like looked at me like, what the hell did I just say? Like he couldn't believe what was happening. So then he stood up, walked off. He's like, maybe I just need a water or whatever. Came back and then just started having seizure right there on one of our couches that we had in the studio. So I was just like, that from that point on is like my entire life had changed. The whole life of the channel had changed. And so, but he handled the entire experience like incredibly well. There was times where he looked on camera as if maybe he had it all together, but there was tons of fear. Like he was terrified, as he should have been, right? But still tried to see life for what it was and live life to the fullest. And did all of the things, right? Like just we raised money for him, and I mean it was huge. Our community raised over $60,000 for him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and the community that he was a part of in Baltimore City was also incredible, and it just the amount of lives he touched was ridiculous. So, it was an awesome experience. But yeah, to your point, it was just kind of one of those things where it hit me really hard because we were so close, and just kind of going through the motions and just everything that had happened. It was just a really weird experience, and it kind of just forced me to not really focus on the business as much, to really not focus on YouTube as much, only because I wanted to make sure that I was taking care of myself, because it had taken a mental toll on me, of course, and then him. And, it was a really tough time in my life.
Did you guys decide to talk about it on camera? Was it like months later, or was it like, let's just keep it between us for a while, keep doing the show? What was the decision point on that? Like,
well, pretty immediate. Like when he had his seizure, he told me it was okay to talk about it pretty much the next day.
So he found out the next day. So he had a seizure, and then he went to the doctor, and that's when he found out.
He found out that he had a tumor. We didn't know how terminal it was, or even if it was cancerous at that point. But so we let our community in from day one on the entire process, on what he was going through and how things were panning out. So like they knew from the first day to the last day what his journey was like. And then he actually ended up putting some information about his entire journey on his YouTube channel, just to kind of basically let everybody know, because there's so many people that it was just easier to kind of put it out there on camera so that everybody kind of knew what was going on. So but yeah, everybody knew from day one. He was completely transparent when it came to that, which was amazing.
I don't know, because again, I wasn't familiar with your community back then. Did you guys have people who would come in and say he's lying, he's just trying to make money, he's for clout and stuff? Because none of that. I mean, we have a really tight knit community. That's a nice thing. I think you have a lot of huge YouTube channels that are out there that hardly know their community, but I don't know. I don't know how it actually happened. I think I don't know if it's my personality or our personalities or what, but it just seems as if, like, I don't want to say it seems, we care about them, and it seems as if it was very much reciprocated, and it still is. People really understood the breaks that I needed throughout this entire time, and what I needed to do for myself, and letting the business kind of go, of course, put me in a bit of a financial spot. So I've been creating other sources of income, starting other businesses and that sort of thing.
to build things back up. But I want to be back on YouTube full time, like I was before Christian came on, and kind of bring it back to where it once was. But yeah. Anyways, the community is absolutely incredible. But to answer your question, no, nobody was really shared any kind of animosity, and in fact, they were more than willing to help. I mean, that was the overwhelming amount of support we got from them.
Good. Okay, I'm glad to hear that, because I've seen some stuff where people on camera talk about a diagnosis or whatever, and you look in the comments, they're like, "Oh, she's faking it for clout," because there are actually people out there now that will make up a story like that just to get sympathy and then get subscribers and views or even money and then disappear. So yeah, it's quite sad to see people to use like a real life situation like that for their gain, just to monetize or make money. So
yeah, the thing I'll say that bothered me the most, and I understand where people are coming from. It comes from a place of love. It comes from a place of caring. But it's just like when you tell people that this is a terminal cancer and that he's got 12 to 18 months to live, the amount of comments that I would get be like, well, you can fight this, you can beat this. And it's just like, no, like that's not where we're coming from. Like, we've already accepted the fact that he's going to die from this.
Yeah.
Like, stop telling us that he's going to
survive.
He's going to beat this. Like, this isn't, some simple cancer. There is no cure. Right. So like, that's the one thing that really bothered me. And I, of course you don't want to be like, this, I tried to do the best I could at communicating with people. It's like, he's not going to make it. We've already accepted this. Now let's live our life and kind of carry ourselves that way. So that was the really tough part for me to keep trying to communicate with people, because I was by myself, on camera again. Like, I didn't have anybody to feed off of anymore. So that was also really tough. But like, trying to handle all that alone was really hard. And I understand where people are coming from. It's just, it's just one of those things. Like, yeah, it's not happening, guys. Like, he's not going to be able to make it, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's I can't imagine. So I've had friends die. It was mostly like coworkers. It was mostly to suicide. In the military, we have a very high suicide rate. So so I never had like a close friend who was diagnosed with something and had X, Y, and Z time to live. So I never experienced it. It's usually like one day we're here, next day they're gone type of situation. So
tragic,
Yeah. But I feel like it's, with a situation like yours and Fat Man Zoom, it's like slowly pulling off the Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Right. It's like a long progression of what an outcome's going to be after a while. So I can only imagine what he's going through in his family, and then you as being a friend and as a business partner, because you guys built something together. It was growing, I'm assuming, at that time too, right? Because, and then this happens, and clearly your partner's no longer there with you to do the show, and you have to keep moving on, right?
And he was my best friend. I mean, watching him deteriorate from the first day he was diagnosed all the way to the end, it was horrible. I mean, this is a guy that like was in perfect health, that was super health conscious. He quit drinking like years ago, and and didn't do anything else. He just super health conscious. And so like, to see this happen to somebody like him, it was like, what the hell? It really does not discriminate, and it can truly happen to anybody. And so, one of the lessons that I've tried to tell people, it's like, and what we share with each other was, on how we wanted to do business and just life in general, was just relationships, building relationships, fostering them, growing them, meeting as many people as we can, creating that reach. Because, money's great, but if you don't have those relationships, you really don't have anything. And even if you're not making millions of dollars, right, which is nice, you still have that impact that you were able to make. And I think that's what truly Christian's legacy left, was that, he impacted people from all over the globe. There was 500 people, I think, somewhere around there, that showed up to the celebration of life. And and that wasn't even close to the amount of people he had touched. So, it was really beautiful. And I think that's the legacy that he left. And that's something that I want to continue to carry on myself.
And the comments that you were talking about, people's like, you can fight this and stuff, and their intentions are usually good, right? They're just help. but it can be frustrating.
Yeah.
It's just like I have a huge fear of death. I do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Once I hit 40, it's just like I have this huge fear of death. And then you start seeing all these celebrities you grew up with that just die out of the blue, like Bob Saget, who died less than 15 miles away from me. Right? He had a show, went to the hotel, and passed away. And you're like, what's going on here? So you just see these people passing away. And
my dad passed away when I was 14, and you just went to sleep one night. Same thing as like kind of like a Bob Saget situation. Never woke up.
Yeah, and it's just it puts life in a different perspective at times, because you're like, like, could you imagine like what he's going through? He just had a show, awesome, met some fans. He's like, all right, I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah,
and that's it. It's just gone, and it's very, very scary. And I hate when people are like, you shouldn't fear death because you believe in God and all this other stuff. I'm like, I do. I'm sorry, I do. I fear death. It's something I think about quite often, and it's just scary, especially when you see all these people that you grew up with, or you're just like celebrities or whatever, that just for like no reason they're just gone. That to me is like
normal. Huh? And there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's perfectly normal.
Yeah. So I'm sorry for your loss, man, for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, didn't mean to bring the podcast down, but
no. I didn't want to talk to you about that too. I just wasn't sure if we should, because it is a serious thing. And I want people to watch the video that you put together with him. And it was a huge part of your channel from the research that I did.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming too, once he was diagnosed, and like you said, did you lose, you lost passion at one point, right?
Yeah.
For doing this. Like, it's just to be honest, it was, why'd you continue?
I continued because I know that I loved it. And at the end of the day, what really, and it still kind of gets me up every day. I won't say kind of, it does get me up every day, is my people, the people in my community. Whenever I could just make a simple post on social media or whatever, and people genuinely just care and want me to come back and still want to be a part of something. And when you build a community like this, you have you start to create friends, and some of the friends that I created through this that I've never even seen in person would reach out and be like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. I just hope that you're okay. How are you doing? Whatever. And so just that community feel, that community aspect. And that's what I was saying earlier. It's like, building relationships is everything. And so for me, I was like, you know what? I just need to pick myself back up and continue to support the community that's been supporting me. And so that's why I decided to do it again. I do love to be on YouTube. I just love connecting with people. And, you could have the smallest business in the world, but you can turn it global by being on something like YouTube. That's why YouTube is so special to me. I think just being able to connect with people from all over the globe is really what motivates me, and being able to make an impact like that, even if it is a small one, is truly special to me. And so just kind of like regaining that vision and that feeling of that sense of community, I think is what really pulled me back to wanting to continue to just create content. And we'll see where it goes. It's obviously not the same without them, and it never will be. But I think the I'm not going anywhere, and I don't think that they're going anywhere either, which is pretty awesome, man.
Since you took a break though, like how long was your break?
It was never really consistent, but I would say from about October to really May. It has kind of been like that. I like I said, I wasn't consistent, but that was really like kind of like the break that I feel like I needed. And over the last several weeks, I've just had this reinvigoration of just to be motivated to just get back into it as much as I can.
Hey, because when you take a massive break like that on YouTube, your channel will take a massive hit too, right?
Yeah. And it has 100%.
Yeah. Because I did the same thing. Was it last year? I think it was last year, or the year before. I had started my YouTube channel. I was finally getting traction. It was going uphill.
Yeah.
But like you said, I do, as much as I want to turn YouTube into a business, as much as I want to spend a lot of time here in front of the camera, I have a family. And during the summer, it's very important to me that I'm more available. So I took like a 3-month break after I was having this momentum. Completely killed my channel like for a while. It took because it was literally was going up and there was just like a steep dive and slowly climb back up. It was like a Tesla chart. If you look at a Tesla chart, it was up and then crash, and I was like slowly climbing back up.
Yeah.
So I know that can be detrimental, especially if this is like your business. No, I'm assuming YouTube is not your primary source of income.
Not anymore. No.
Okay. So it was when Fat Man Zoom was there, or like when did YouTube become your primary income?
Really during COVID, it became that. I mean, YouTube was making $10,000 a month just from that. And so I wouldn't say it was primary. I guess it is primary. It made the most income, during that time. But we had other services that we gave, like we had channel memberships and newsletters that we would put out that people pay a couple bucks a month for. And we never like charged any crazy amount because we never believed in that. But it was enough to like really kind of get us going. We were super pumped about it, and things were going really well. Of course, everything kind of turned down after that, and then I think it all just kind of was a perfect storm. Like the market started to turn down, Christian got diagnosed, and it was just kind of like I don't know what to do,
Yeah.
But yeah, we were making 10,000 a month on YouTube.
That's insane. That's amazing. Congratulations, by the way, because only such a small percent of people can really make that type of money on YouTube.
Yeah.
So, because like you did the like you said, you tried to do like the social media platform that didn't pan out. Then you went to the bot. Did the bot ever go live? Yeah,
we did have it live with a couple of pilot, users. We had probably about 50 people on our bot at most. And it was doing really well. It just traded the SPY. It was very simple, not overly complex, traded off of a 50-day average. And yeah, it started to do really well at that time.
Okay. And then that stopped once you said Fat Man Zoom got diagnosed, right? Did you just completely shut that down?
Yeah. Just kind of gave up on it.
Okay. And then, because that was also a source of income, I would take it as well.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you shut that down. And then after that, that's pretty much when YouTube was that was like your source of income at that point.
Yeah.
And then it started, like you said, Fat Man got diagnosed. And then obviously all finance channels took a hit during 2021. Like, let's just be real. It doesn't matter how big your channel was. It really was starting to fall, because also you said you started this 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. So you were in the forefront before Graham Stephan and like Meet Kevin.
He started at the same time I did. Yeah.
Okay. And because you and I talked about this, you also knew Ricky at one point, Ricky Gutierrez as well. So everyone during 2020 basically, I guess, blew up. Mm-hmm. You didn't have that same success, no?
I wouldn't say that I didn't. I mean, I didn't, of course, get 1 million followers, but I went before. So 2017 is when I started my YouTube channel from zero. When COVID hit, I had about 12,000 subscribers. So it's not like insane growth, but then, I exploded, and in my own terms, I exploded to 45, 50,000 subscribers during that time. And it's just kind of been plateaued since then, since about last year.
Did you know what had to do with the bull run? Did you think it was going to sustain, or were you pretty optimistic about it? You're like, man, this is amazing. We're making $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
We're growing. Did you think that was going to remain like that?
I have that toxic personality of being overly positive. So which, it's good and bad, I think. It's my best quality and my worst quality, I think. Yeah. But I mean, I was super pumped, and like, just kind of like, I think I definitely got myself hyped up over it, because it's like, man, I've spent so many years doing this, and now it finally feels like it's paying off. And so part of it I thought was definitely me figuring it out and kind of having that momentum, but I wasn't oblivious to the fact, especially when like, I was staying true to myself when I saw things like, it was very early on. I don't know if you remember this, but when COVID first happened and I saw stocks like Nikola moving and Genius Brands moving, and then I would start to talk shit about them. I'm like, why is this stock going off? It's like ridiculous. And then I got like crazy hate for it. And I was just like, well, wait a minute. People liked when I would like, rip a stock for doing this. And it's like, okay, now I'm starting to see that this is a movement and that people are just more generally interested because they're at home, they got stimmy checks and they want to put that money to work. So like I was kind of blown away as somebody who was in it well before COVID happened. Just kind of see this crazy shift in the industry was absolutely wild to me.
Yeah, and then why everyone else like like the rookies and the Meet Kevin and all them, they're like, Nikola is the best company ever. It's going to compete with Tesla. You're sitting there talking about this is a crap company,
right?
Dislike, unsubscribe. Like that's the problem. Yeah, because these certain I've realized that too during the pandemic. There's like certain stocks that would just have this massive fan base that is like built around that company itself, which is insane in my personal opinion. Like I'm not a Palantir fan at all. I don't like Palantir. I know a lot of people do, but there's a whole community around Palantir. There's a whole community around SoFi. There's a whole community around like AMC. And it's just, it's jarring, it's baffling. I don't understand it, especially the AMC. I had a pretty good story about AMC if you want me to tell you real quick. It's when the theaters shut down. I'm a huge movie buff.
Yeah.
Love movies. And I had just slowly started getting into the stock market. AMC stock like dropped. It went to like $2 or something.
Right. Yeah. I remember.
Yeah. So I bought a bunch of shares. I was like, I called my friend up. I was like, hey, it's like AMC is at like $2. It's pretty low. It's like, I'm pretty sure it'll probably go to $4 once like the theaters start opening up. I was like, let's buy some shares. So I think I bought like 50 shares, maybe 100. And he went the option route. So he was going to do options. I was going to do shares. Get a call one day. He's like, dude, it's like, did you see AMC? I'm like, did it go zero? He's like, no, it's at $14. I was like, what? Sold. I took my money. And he did too. But his options went like crazy, he sold. Yeah, so we all sold out. And then we started finding out it was this memes movement started happening, meme stock, and the thing just went, crazy, went to like $80. And that's when I was like, damn it, man, I could have had some good money had I just held a little bit longer. But I didn't knew at the time. I was like, why is that $14? This doesn't make sense. I'm selling right now because fundamentally it does not make sense.
Yeah.
So, and where's AMC now? I think at like $4 or something. But anytime I would go on Twitter, which I wasn't on Twitter often until literally like 6 months ago is when I started being more active on Twitter. Always had, I just didn't understand it. But people get mad, man, when you like shit on a company that they like.
Yeah.
It's like a terrible company. I'm like, AMC, like when they did the whole ape stuff, I'm like, only an idiot, only a real dumb ape would go buy this ape stock. Like, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. You're just an idiot. And at that time, my name was also Trading with a Dummy. So, because that was my initial channel name. So people are like, you're really true to your name. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? I didn't know people really love this company, but look at where it's at now. So it's so you definitely, I see where that kind of hurt you a little bit, where you're like, Nikola is a trash company. Everyone else is saying it's an amazing company.
Yeah, I think I definitely had a sense of bitterness about me during that whole entire time, because it was like it seemed as if, and so maybe there's some truth to this too, but it felt as if you just told them what you wanted to hear, you were going to gain a better following.
Yes.
And so it was like telling the truth screwed my channel, screwed my growth. And I'm like, I definitely felt bitter about that, because like there's like the Meet Kevins and the financial educations that would talk about Tattooed Chef all day long. And even though it was a garbage ass company, people just ate that shit up. And so it was like, okay, do I want to sell my soul to the devil, or do I want to stay true to myself? And I came to a realization that I was like, you know what? I don't care if I have 10 followers. I'm going to stay true to myself. I'm going to be authentic. And if they love me, fine. If they don't, then they can just go continue to gain, to find somebody that's just going to tell them what they want to hear. And I'm okay with that. I can live with that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, because that is also dangerous in that space, right? Because like you said, Jeremy Education, I don't watch him, but I think he has over 1 million subscribers. I could be wrong.
Not quite. I think he's got like 700. He's got like 5 channels too. So
okay. Yeah, that's true too. So, but I remember like he's the tattoo chef guy. That's what I know, because I have a group of friends that just constantly make videos and shitting on them. But they talked about how, I guess he was pumping this back when it was close to $20, I think.
Mm-hmm.
His audience is investing into this, and he just keeps doubling down. When it went to $15, when it went to $10, when it went to $5, like, it's still going to be amazing. And I guess he's recently sold out, and it's at $1, I think now.
Who knows?
So,
It's trash.
yeah, like but what's probably more frustrating than anything, and what's probably puts a bitter taste in my mouth, is that these people still have such a huge following.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, if they're taking somewhat of a hit, but they still have a huge following. Where like you were consistent and transparent the entire time, and you're being true to yourself, which means you can sleep better at night. But no one like maybe down the line, people will look back and was like, oh, he was right. But during that time, everyone was hating on you. No one respected you, and they're like, I'm not going to listen to you. You don't know what you're talking about. And in fact, you are right.
Yeah.
So that can be a little frustrating as well, because it's like, I was right. My channel didn't grow. This person literally lost you guys thousands and thousands of dollars, and you guys put this guy on a pedestal. Yeah. I'm here with like real information, really trying to help, really trying to be honest and transparent, not trying to pump stocks just because it does well in the algorithm. And I'm being punished for that, essentially.
Yeah. And I'll tell people when I get it wrong too. Like I don't shy away from that either. And I almost wonder if that even hurts the channel a lot too, because it's just like, oh, well, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He just told everybody he was wrong. But at the same time, like I said, I want to continue to be as authentic as I can. And it's like, here's the reality. It doesn't matter if you're the best trader in the world. You're usually wrong about 30 to 40% of the time if you're the best. So think about that for a second. It's like, it really comes down to risk management and how you can manage your own risk and take profits when you need to and all of that. So, this doesn't always matter about being right. And it's like to what Jeremy was doing. Like he just continued to try to convince himself that he was right and continue to dig his heels in, and then bring the entire ship down with him, unfortunately. But, I try to give people the best information that I can and give them my thoughts on particular companies and stocks and what I plan to do. And sometimes most of the time, I would say I'm right most of the time versus, being wrong on things. But, it is what it is.
I agree with you. And I think you and I are in the same boat too, because I'm very transparent on a lot of stuff and honest, because I just personally don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to sell my soul. I feel like I did that enough for the government, where the things that I did in the past. But I think channels like yourself, first of all, I actually vet and look through your stuff, and I see that you do take accountability when you're wrong. Yeah. I do not bring people on my channel that I feel may have a shady background or can't be accountable for their stuff. But it does, I think it does hurt on a marketing aspect of things when you're like, I was wrong about this.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I think people should kind of have more of an open mind or see through the BS and realize, like, wait a second, this guy is supposed to be like a finance guy and he's saying he was wrong, versus the guy who just only calls out the winners, ignores the losers, because people call out a bunch of shit and it is ignore that. But people gravitate to that because they're like, oh, you must be really good because all you talk about are your winners. Why would I listen to Brad from Owning Chaos? He said he was wrong about this. I'm not going to listen to him. And it's really weird, but I think longevity wise, long term, I think we will do better.
I agree.
Yeah. And we have an audience that is very different. That's probably more loyal, and they see that and they realize you're very careful on what you promote, what you do, because you don't want to take advantage of your audience. And that's the vibe I got from you. And hence the reason why I brought you on the channel. You seem like you really care about the relationship with your audience more than the monetization and making money off of them. And just even having this conversation, you keep saying that you're like, it's the relationship seems to be very, very important to you. Was that like that on the beginning? Was that always the goal? Like, I want to create a relationship?
No, it wasn't. In the very beginning, I was like, I want to be on YouTube and get rich. Be completely transparent, because I was really close to Ricky Gutierrez. I saw that he had 4 or 5 cars and like huge house and, was making $200,000 a month. I'm like, I want to be in that camp. And it wasn't actually until I brought Christian on when it was like, when I really truly kind of understood and grasped the importance of relationships. And it's not that I didn't have that already before I brought Christian, because I kind of started to see that develop, because people would just come in and hang out. We would talk about other things other than stock stuff, but it really got hammered home once I brought him on and kind of like really emphasized the importance of all of
that. That makes sense. And then when you said you were really cool with Ricky Gutierrez, was that before he blew up or after?
It was before. Ricky had maybe 5,000 to 10,000 subscribers when he and I became friends.
Oh, okay. So you saw the growth from him being like just a kid to like now having 5 Ferraris and 23 mansions and, day trading on the beach. Okay.
GTR, we rode in his GTR and his McLaren together. We went to and we did a lot of stuff before our falling out.
Yeah. But what you said also is also different because like you said you're not a day trader. He is a day trader.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's also when it comes to marketing of someone's channel, being a day trader, look at how much money I make in a day versus yours where you're like a swing trader. So when you say you're a swing trader, how many days do you typically hold? Overnight, week, monthly?
It depends. It's rare that it's just an overnight thing. It's a week to a month usually. I would say most of my trades, and then and even longer than that. Sometimes it'll be 6 months or so. Then of course I have like a long-term account too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But so that makes sense when you look at like, oh, when the chaos, they're swing trading. That means takes a couple of weeks, couple of months to make.
Yeah, people don't want to wait for that.
I'd rather go with this Ricky guy. He makes money every day. So that makes sense. And I wish eventually, this is the thing, Brad, and I think you probably realize it too. You've been on YouTube way longer than me. So eventually those people who get burned from all those bigger accounts, they eventually trickle down. You, the ones that still want to stay in the space, they'll trickle down and they'll find you. They find channels like myself or someone else that actually teaches capital mindset, stuff like that. That's when you start getting those. It's just a very, very slow growth, unfortunately, sometimes. And it can be frustrating because as a content creator, because like you said, you made this your business, right? And when the business is not doing well, you're not making the same money, like $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
It becomes very scary and nerve-wracking, I'm assume, correct? And you start trying to figure out like, what can I do to survive? And you took a break. Your channel took a hit, obviously, off of that. You're back more. So since then, what have you been doing for money? Like, are you making money off of your Discord group? Are you making money off of date or swing trading, or are you making money elsewhere?
So to be completely transparent, with the business kind of taking a huge hit, I used a lot of my investment money to live off of for a while. I came down to the Carolinas and thought that I was going to get a good opportunity with a Bitcoin company. They were mining Bitcoin. They're still mining Bitcoin, but there was a huge falling out there that I thought was going to be really good for me. Ended up being that it was not. So I took a lot of my investment money and just kind of had been living off of that. And so I haven't been trading that much because of that. And so what I've been doing, I still have, income coming from my community, but it's not a lot. It's not enough to really to get excited about. And so I've actually been building another business that I think could be more sustainable. I still want to stick with finance and all of that. But I would love that to be more of like a passion project, icing on the cake type of deal. So I've actually been starting a firm revolving around social media management. I was like, you know what? I've been doing this long enough to know how to be successful on YouTube, on social media. And there's a lot of companies out there that either just don't have the time of day to expand their digital presence, but in this day and age, you need it. It's imperative. So I've started to actually do that myself and create income that way. And I've also considered just kind of taking a 9 to 5, day job, maybe if it's just remotely or what have you, just to kind of have that stability, and then I can continue to build and do this because I love it, not because I have this pressure and now I need to live off of it.
I'm glad you brought that up and that you're very honest about the fact that you wouldn't mind going to a 9 to 5. Do you feel though, if you do that, like you failed?
For the longest time, I did feel that way. But the more that I've kind of thought about it, and the more that I've actually, I watched an interview from Mark Rober the other day. It was with Khan and Samir. You familiar with Khan and Samir? Yeah, bro. Khan and Samir is their channel that interview other successful YouTubers and basically talk about their success, where they're at, all that good stuff. It's like
you got to text me that channel.
Yeah, for sure. But they had Mark Rober on. If you don't know who Mark Rober is, he's the guy that, created surprise Porch Pirate packages and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, he works for NASA, has about, I don't know, 20 some 50 million subscribers. It's stupid. And he talked about how he had been making more money on YouTube than he was making at NASA for years. But he stayed with NASA because he viewed YouTube and created videos because he loved them and it was his passion. And I thought that he didn't want that kind of pressure to just continue to build and grow, create content because he needed to keep the lights on. He wanted to do it because it was fun. And that really kind of hit home for me. And I have seen a lot of other creators, especially successful ones, have that same type of mentality. So I was like, you know what? If I take that pressure, that financial pressure off myself by having some sort of guaranteed income, and I know that I can take care of myself and what have you with that, and just continue to do this because I love it and it's fun and not have that pressure, then I think that it's going to, my audience is going to see that and they're going to buy into me even more. And then who knows, maybe we get back to where I was during those high times on YouTube and I can let that 9 to 5 go again. But I think that's kind of where I'm at, that I want to continue to do YouTube because I love to do it, not because I feel like I have to because it's my job.
I totally get that. And I'm glad you brought that up as well. Because YouTube is very difficult to survive off of because any day the algorithm can change, the traffic can change, ad dollars can change. And that makes correct. Like during the bear market, my channel's kind of dying. Now it's the bull run again. It's kind of doing better, but I also pivoted. I do mostly podcasts now more than anything. People seem to really resonate with that. So that's good. But I was in a similar boat with yours, I guess. I quit. I got out of the military. Luckily, I still had money, right? I had a monthly check that will come in every single day and I could survive off of that check and take care of my family. We just had to budget a lot more. But for 6 months, I traded. That's all. I mean, I prepared. I learned trading. That was my goal. I was going to be a full-time trader. So for 6 months, I traded full-time. Had some ups and downs. Pretty much most of my months I was profitable. Not enough to the point, because I'm not going to sit there online, but I made thousands of dollars every single month. No, it could be anywhere from a couple $100 to a couple thousand. I don't know. It fluctuated depending on how I was trading.
Sure.
What I did realize is that all I wanted, like for 2 years, where I was just grinding nonstop, wake up in the morning at 4 a.m., go to the gym and just watch the market, study, trade, all that stuff. Once now I'm relying on just trading, it was the most stressful 6 months ever.
Yep.
And I don't think a lot of people have realized that because so many people make it seem like it's just so easy and you can just go in there and just take thousands of dollars out and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But it puts a lot of pressure on you. And again, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I have bills to pay.
Right.
So you can't fail like that, like you could if you were single or young or whatnot. So 6 months I was doing this. It was extremely stressful. It got to the point where my kids knew if I had a good day or a bad day by my moods. Like they would come home and be like, "Hi, Dad." And depending on how I respond, they're like, "Okay, he made money or he didn't make money." Like it was like one of those situations. My mood was just bad and I hated it. And what I thought was going to be a fun way to like move forward, it wasn't as fun as I thought it would be. And then I was doing YouTube as well. I did have fun with the YouTube channel. But then same thing, once I came back, the channel kind of died. And then you put all this effort into the videos and the views aren't really that good and you're not really growing. And you're like, well, shit, this might not be a source of income either. And fortunately, I just got lucky. Someone found my resume floating around somewhere. And I have a very specific niche skill. And I didn't want to go back to work, man. I didn't want to go 9 to 5 because I felt like I worked up to get out the military. I worked up to be a full-time trader. I'm living what I wanted to do, but I didn't want to go to 9 to 5. But my wife said that. She's like, look, they're willing to pay you a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
Why not try it? If you don't like it, just quit.
Right.
I was like, yeah. She's like, what do you have to lose? They're willing to give you everything you want. Because on the interviews, I was like, listen, I was like, I was very straight up. I was like, I don't need this job. I was like, I trade during the day. They're like, we could bring your laptop in. You could trade from work. And I was like, okay.
Shit.
Once I went to that 9 to 5, it has been the best decision I ever made. Even though I never wanted to go back to a 9 to 5, I had a specific skill that this place needed.
Yep.
And I think I had the power now. It wasn't really like I needed the job. They need me. They were willing to accommodate what I was doing, and they paid me extremely well. And I think you would be an idiot not to take it. So I took it, and I love it. I've been there now over a year and a half, and I love it. It's a great company. It's an easy job. I get paid very, very well, and I get to still trade. And that actually made me a better trader now, because I'm not relying on that income to pay the bills or to live my lifestyle.
Yep.
And I encourage everybody, just like you were saying, even if you want to be a content creator, even if you want to be a day trader or investor or a business owner, don't just completely throw away the idea of having a 9 to 5. I understand if you like really hate the job, yeah, get out. But don't throw it away as an option. Don't feel like a failure if you have a 9 to 5 while you're pursuing something else to grow it. Yep. Like you said, that NASA guy, I think I want to listen to that interview now, because that completely makes sense. I don't know if you watched my interview with Spencer Cornelia.
No, I didn't get a chance.
Okay. Are you familiar with him?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, so he's the mini CoffeeZilla. So it was like CoffeeZilla and Spencer Cornelia. They were always like this very similar stuff. They're actually friends. But I interviewed him on my channel, and he solely relies on YouTube. But he's also in a massive lawsuit for like $2 million or something like that for exposing somebody or something like that. So he was suing. So he's completely stressed, because this is his only source of income was YouTube and real estate that he's doing. Luckily, the real estate stuff is paying for his lifestyle. But just having a conversation with him is extremely stressful. I have another friend, and I don't want to give his name out because I don't want people to know how much money he makes. I don't want them to attach him to it, but he was making $40,000 to $60,000 a month on YouTube. And then things shifted a little bit, and now he doesn't make that much. He still makes a shit ton of money, but just having a conversation with him, he's like scared. He's like, this is like, what happens if this goes away? What am I going to do?
Right.
So there's a lot of pressure. I think just audience members sometimes don't know about or aren't completely aware. Even like Graham Stephan, when the whole FTX stuff happened, you could just tell the dude's nervous. Yeah. He's like, oh man, am I going to lose subscribers? Am I going to get sued? Or could people not trust me anymore? So it's stuff like there's a lot of things that play into trying to have or be a content creator, essentially, is what I'm saying. And I feel like I rambled way too much. I'm supposed to be interviewing you, and I'm telling you my story here. But I like what you said, because I don't think it would be a failure, Brad. Even if you go to 9 to 5, you got to do what you got to do to support yourself and your family. And there's nothing wrong with it. Right. And you seem to have a community that really backs you. So that's a good thing as well, because they will see your growth and they'll be there for that journey as well. So there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah. And I've gotten I've shared it with my community too. And this isn't anything that nobody doesn't already know. So and the support that I've gotten from them too has been pretty awesome. Just being like, do what you got to do. We'll be here. We're not going anywhere. So it's been cool. Even though I've kind of felt down about myself, it kind of gives me a bit of a sense of relief to know that people are still there to support me no matter what I do. They just want to hang out with me. They don't necessarily even care what I'm talking about. That's the kind of relationship that I've built with them up to this point. So it's a good feeling.
Yeah. And then you talked about this earlier. You mentioned, just by passing, that you moved to North Carolina for a Bitcoin company.
Yeah. So there was a venture that I had, I had befriended a guy who had bought Bitcoin at $2.
Oh, nice.
And so he has built several companies off of that. Since then, he was also a programmer, a software engineer, and ended up coming across some venture capitalists that were building a Bitcoin mining facility in North Carolina. So I went down there to help build their social media presence and what have you. Building ended up catching on fire, long story short, and then kind of everybody just abandoned the project. It power's back on and everything now, but yeah, so it just kind of created a lot of sour relationships. A lot of people felt like they got rug pulled, including myself. And so that was another, amongst everything else that was going on, that was another
on top. Yeah, it was a bad thing after bad thing after bad thing. But wait, what's a little confusing? You said that the place burned down.
Well, it didn't burn down, just caught on fire. So there was a huge electrical fire to the point to where there was no electricity in the building, and it took 6 months to get it back on.
So how do you feel you got burned by that? It sounds like that was just a mistake that happened.
Well, because we were promised that we were going to continue to get compensated throughout all of that. And so
oh, okay.
and essentially what happened was that, all the um, uh, venture capitalists or whatever were just like, this just isn't worth it. The insurance companies are fighting us. Like, we're just out. And I actually stopped getting paid without warning. Not even like, hey, you're not going to get paid anymore. Just nothing showed up in my bank account, and that was it.
Wow. And was that like a huge source of your income at that time?
It wasn't huge, but it was considerable.
Yeah, that's kind of messed up. So especially since you made that move to North Carolina specifically for that, is the reason why you moved there? Okay.
Yep. Yeah. I was promised like an opportunity to, be able to start my own business, my own media company within that facility and whatever else. So like, had a lot of hopes and dreams that were sold to me to move down there. And so then I do, and then you just kind of pull the rug out from under me without warning, essentially.
Oh, that's terrible. Because I watched some of your older videos. You used to have this big warehouse that you were doing your videos with in Fat Man Zoom. That's not North Carolina.
No, that's our studio. I actually still have the studio there. It's in Baltimore.
Okay. Why did you open up that studio?
Christian and I had this vision of creating the studio where we could, make it a cool place to hang out. We could have multiple places where we could record from. We had another channel that had podcasts on it about how to grow business, how to build businesses, and that sort of thing. And so we wanted to create a space where we could do all of that in one spot. And so that's why we decided to open up that facility. I mean, we both were kind of recording from our homes. So we wanted to have a central space that we could get creative with. And so that's why we were there.
Also a tax write-off.
Yeah.
So, that's also a perk, but you still got it open. Why not let it go?
Couple of reasons. One of them is that I have other people that are now in there and doing the same thing that I was doing. They're creating YouTube channels and recording in there. But the other thing is too, for me, it's like, there's a lot of memories in there still that he and I had. I mean, we redecorated that whole place. We had a local artist that we came in and like, he did an entire mural on the wall. And so like, there's just like a lot for me, it's twofold. There's people in there that are essentially paying for the place now. That's not costing me anything. And I just, just sentimental reasons, of course.
Could you see yourself going back
to Baltimore City? No.
Oh, okay.
Visiting. Yeah. Like, I mean, there's people there that I love and I will continue to love forever, but and there's parts about Baltimore that I love forever. It's my hometown, but the city itself is just, it's terrible, man. Just the homelessness, the fighting every day. Like, people are shooting people in broad daylight. It's just can't. I can't get back. I can't go back there, and especially now being down in the Charlotte area where none of that happens at all. It's just like, there's just no way I'm going back. Plus,
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Plus the weather's nice.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And I'm assuming also it's a little bit more expensive in Baltimore, correct?
It's about the same, I would say, cost of living wise.
Okay. So no plans to go back. Got you. All right. Because I thought maybe you might go back, reopen up the studio, take away from the people or whatever, and then start doing your own thing over there.
Well, visit, sure. Hang out there, whatever. But I don't think I see myself being there permanently again.
Got you. Okay. And I want to talk about your community a little bit before, we end the podcast. Sure. Because you have a community. How much is it a month?
For like my Patreon?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's $5 a month, and there's like a second tier that's $49.99.
What do you get in a $5 tier?
It's so every Sunday I put up an exclusive video for my Patreon folks. It's called Stock Watch Sunday, where I go over the stocks that I'm watching throughout that week. So to get access to that, our Discord, plus I have Don, like a sister channel, if you will, and he has his trade alerts that he makes in there and stuff like that. So you get access to a lot of that stuff for the $5. And the trade alerts will be with the $50 one, and then you get charting and stuff like that with the $5. You get tons of stuff with the $5. Really, the $50 just kind of gets you the trade alert. Kind of,
yeah, trade alert. So that's more like it's more where Don, was his name Don Fron?
Yeah, Don. His full name is Don Fronberger, so he shortens it up to Don Fron. Yeah.
Okay, and he's so I'm assuming he's the day trader guy who's in there. Yeah. I was a little shocked to find out that you work with Don. So I didn't know Don until he showed up on my buddy's podcast, and they went at it pretty bad.
Okay, I know about it.
I was like, huh. I was like, I've never heard this guy before. So then when it was a YouTube channel, and I started going through some of his content, and I was like, oh no, he seems like he knows what he's talking about. Maybe it was just like a bad podcast, or maybe they were just rubbing each other wrong. I don't know, but I was like, oh, it seems like he knows what he's talking about. But since I'm always on your earnings reports, you always bring up the charts, and I didn't know the guy's name was Don Fron for one, but you kept always saying these charts are from Don or whatever, and they're pretty accurate where the price would go and stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, he does supply and demand, 'cause I do that as well. So I was like, oh, he's pretty good with the charting and stuff. It wasn't until the day he came on live with you, and I was like, oh, it's that guy. I was like, oh, okay, that's the Don that he was talking about and stuff. And I made some comments, and I think Don was like, oh shit, this guy's gonna start talking shit. But I was like, no, actually, he seems like a cool guy.
He's definitely super. He's a certified genius. He's ridiculously smart, and because of that, he's not socially smart. So like sometimes, and he won't admit to it, but like I could just tell you, like his delivery is terrible. I've told him that when his wife's in the background, and she starts laughing because she knows. But he's got a huge heart, and he's loyal to a fault too. But like, yeah, he's ridiculously smart. So sometimes he comes off as like abrasive or brash or whatever. But yeah, no, that guy's legit. He's a way better trader than I will ever be.
Yeah, and he does that for a living. I'm assuming as well.
He does a couple things. He's a real estate agent. But yeah, he also works for I don't know if it's a hedge fund, but it's kind of like a hedge fund. He trades for them and then does his own trading as well.
Okay, yeah, I might bring him on one day. It won't be an aggressive interview. So
yeah, like you and I was like, listen, bro, it's not an Echoes situation. You're good.
Yeah, and I love Echoes, man. He's definitely my boy. But when I saw that, I was like, I need to do research on this guy, because I had no idea. I don't ever really judge anyone until I actually like go through their content and start reading and just doing my research and stuff. Then I'll see like, is this guy a scammer or not a scammer? Because there's a lot in the trading space. You and I both know that.
Oh yeah.
It just gets bad. But his charts are really, really good. So. Yeah. So it sounds like you guys decided to partner together to do your stuff. Did that relationship that came after Fat Man?
Those are around the same time, actually. Don's been friends. I've been friends with Don. Don came from the Ricky community too.
Oh, okay.
But no, we've been friends for a long time, and we've been partnering together for a long time too. But never just like business partners. Just worked in collaboration with each other.
Got you. So if people want to support you, they can go to get the $5 tier, which they get the charts on the $5 tier as well. Correct? Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And then if you want to get more, I guess, get the trade alerts and stuff, then you'll move up to the $50 tier. So you're probably gonna get some hate a little bit. There will be a little bit of hate in the comments, I'm sure, from my audience, because like, oh, this is another guy trying to sell something. But the reason we discuss, again, this is not your primary source of income.
Yeah.
Clearly, and you're trying to. You're moving on to other things as well, while continuously still being there for your community and helping them. So where do you see Own the Chaos moving forward now? What's the plan?
For the longest time, I wanted to be on a status of like a me, Kevin, or Andre Jick. Not be them, but just like have that.
You had that a huge following, yeah.
Yeah. But now I'm kind of like, you know what? It doesn't matter. I think I just want to continue to build relationships and grow it organically as possible, and just continue to have fun with it. So where do I see Own the Chaos? I think I see it just as a community where people can come and hang out and be real with each other and be authentic, and whatever that looks like numbers wise doesn't necessarily really matter to me anymore. I just want to hang out with my friends and make some money together and have fun with it.
Gotcha. And in your community, do you guys mostly focus on stocks, or do you focus on everything finance and business?
Mostly stocks, but finance and business go. I think it goes hand in hand for the most part. So all that kind of stuff kind of sprinkles in there.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, I like it. Listen, man, I like your earnings report. I definitely need to dive into, I guess, some of your other stuff, and I'll sign up for the Patreon too to check it out and be part of the community, because I do like you. Seem like a really solid dude.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I want to check that out. And so I want everyone to go over there too and check out your content as well. And, you don't have to sign up for the Patreon, but definitely check out the earnings report. I think you do a great job on the earnings. So before I let you go, though, let's talk a little bit about some stock picks that you like. Airbnb, I'm bringing it up.
Love it.
So, because you liked Airbnb, you were, I think, in the earnings, and I was going back and forth with you. I think just a little bit, not much, but it ended up tanking, right?
Yeah.
Why are you so bullish on the Airbnb?
I just think that it's so disruptive, and I think that it's still very much in its early stages of growth. And I mean, we've seen the growth, right? Like the growth is it's been kind of ridiculous from a startup standpoint. And I really like the fact. Look, I don't think hotels are going anywhere. They're not going away at all. I think there's still a use case for them. I view Airbnb as a place to go to where if you're going on vacation or you're staying someplace longer than, a night or two, then Airbnb is just the way to go for me personally. And I think for most people, that's the case. If you want to go, if you have a 1 night stay somewhere or 2 night stay somewhere, hotels probably make most sense because you don't need to feel like you're at home. Mm-hmm. But I think that there's just that element of being like in a home away from home when you're traveling that people just truly love. And Airbnb is getting really good at starting to incorporate artificial intelligence into their business model, especially when it comes to being able to search certain things or suggesting certain things that they know that their community would like. So I think that I still think it's the future. I think Airbnb is gonna be around for a long time, and I don't know. I think that it's here to stay for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, when you and I talked in the chat and we couldn't get too deep into it, I was like, I just talked to him on a podcast about it. My sentiment, I like Airbnb because everything you said is very true. Like when me, my wife, and my family, when we travel or go to places, if it's more than one night, we're getting an Airbnb. It's just easier, especially with kids and stuff, and
sure,
everything like that. My biggest concern with Airbnb really is the regulations, and I know you and I went in chat. You're like, there's no regulations where they're shutting down Airbnbs or anything, but did you end up looking into it?
I looked into it a little bit. I didn't, to be honest with you, I didn't look hard enough.
You don't trust me. That's what it is. I'm kidding. It's like, again, I liked the business model. My biggest concern is because what I saw here in Orlando, for example, in certain places, they can't have Airbnbs. It's restricted.
Yeah.
Like in my neighborhood, one of the things I was like, because me and my wife were not planning on staying in the States much longer. If everything goes as planned, I'll be leaving as soon as the Ukraine war is over.
Okay.
So we were supposed to leave before it picked up. But like that year that this stuff started, it was when I told my wife, I was like, listen, I don't feel comfortable going to Europe right now because of that. She's like, do you think it's going to be really that bad? I was like, I don't know, but just in case, I don't want to go over there. I was like, for sure, it's going to get pricey for electricity and stuff. And sure enough, it did because we went to England over Christmas. And, but I want to rent out our house in Orlando to move overseas. And then I quickly saw in the HOA, you're not allowed to do Airbnb in the HOA. It seems to be very common in a lot of neighborhoods here in Orlando. And then they have that city restrictions. And it's because it's been so disruptive that it's actually was hurting the hotel industry.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm sure you probably use Airbnb a lot, but a couple of years ago, Airbnb was way cheaper than hotels. Now they almost seem to be hand in hand with some of these Airbnbs because they give you this attractive price, but then all this stupid cleaning fees and fees. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm just going to go to the hotel and just, it's safer. I know where it's at. I have housekeeping. I'm just going to do that and call it a day. Yeah. So that's one of the biggest concerns that I have.
Don't disagree there.
Yeah. As well as, like I said, there's just restrictions, like some of the major cities and places where people visit the most are starting to crack down on Airbnb. Not only that, it has hurt the market when it comes to the housing market. A lot of people were buying homes just to put them on Airbnb, which is raising the rent and raising the housing prices and the cost of living and stuff like that in that area. So I think the government should stepping in. And again, it's a typical government overreach because it was an opportunity. People could find out like that arbitrage or whatever it's called. We could rent a place and just, rent 4 or 5 places, apartments, and then rent them out on Airbnb. So it seemed like so many people took advantage of it that now the government is stepping in, and I'm concerned about that long term. What's also concerning to me is just like how you're basically a software company. That's really what you are. You're a website that, because they don't own any of these homes. They're hosting all of this. Right. How are you not super profitable? That's like one of my biggest concerns. Like I don't understand like how are you losing this much money? It's the same thing with Uber. Who uses taxis anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, anytime we have anywhere to go, call it Uber. maybe old people like my parents. They're like, I'm the Uber. What's that? I'm taxi. But the average person is Uber. And again, same thing. It was like, how are you guys doing this bad? Like, what's going on?
Right.
And these are concerns that I have.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the thing is with tech companies is that there is an element of growing at all costs. I would say that Airbnb has been profitable though. They have been making money, and it hasn't been an Uber situation. Uber's crazy. Their CEO makes $45 million a year and they still aren't profitable. To me, that's
a weird part. Yeah.
Just unethical in my opinion. But Airbnb has turned a profit recently. So I think they're on the right track, but I don't disagree that there are risks involved with it for sure. Just as anything else.
Correct. Yeah. But if it hits the right price, which I don't know where it's at now, is it under 100?
Yeah. I think so.
Okay. I will feel comfortable for under $100 for sure. Above $100, I'm a little iffy on it. What's the other stock that you like? Maybe some companies that you do like.
I'm a really big fan of Microsoft right now. The AI side of things and the way that they've been really carving out their space in the AI marketplace has been really good. And I've actually been diving into some of the other AI competitors. Google's Bard is still trash, and their investment in ChatGPT was phenomenal. And people love Apple. People always talk about Apple being the best stock in the market, and it's not. It's Microsoft.
I agree. You and I agree on that 100% on Microsoft. And unfortunately, I bought Microsoft at some pretty good prices and I sold out. I do have it in my dividend portfolio though. But Microsoft is definitely, I like Microsoft more than Apple.
Yeah.
Some people will kill me, but I'm just like, if you just look overall, Apple has its loyal base. That's what they're good at. They keep in the ecosystem and they have the loyal base. Everything in my house is Apple. So, I mean, my laptop's Apple, my phone is Apple, my iPad's Apple. So, I mean, it's just, you get sucked into the ecosystem. And a lot of times it's not because it's a better product. It's, unfortunately, I do like the laptops. It's missing a lot of bells and whistles that like other laptops have, but I love the performance of it. Same with the phone. The phone just works. It's ugly. I think it's missing a lot of cool things that like Samsung has.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's really more like a status symbol and a loyal audience.
Yep.
And I think that's why it will always be relevant. But Microsoft is really doing the innovative stuff.
Yep.
And I feel a lot of people just kind of just push it to the side. I mean, they're in the cloud space. They're in
everything.
They're in everything. That's what I'm saying. They're in everything. Why would you not bet on Microsoft? I don't get it. And now people are like Microsoft, but now it ran up so high that it's like I wouldn't feel comfortable telling someone right now to get into Microsoft. Probably wait for the pullback a little bit because everything's running because of AI.
Right.
Like you said, you're looking into other companies that are, I guess, in the AI competition. Are there any ones that stand out to you?
None that have really like made me turn my head much like ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT every day now. It's just part of my.
You pay for it?
Yeah, for the version 4, and it's amazing. I use it to help me make social media posts for my clients that I manage on their social media accounts. I use it for scripting videos whenever I want to script a video. Like it is so amazing. Midjourney is another one that I think has been pretty awesome as far as like creating images and that sort of thing. And I've started to dabble a little bit into AI video editing, but none of them are really quite there yet. I think that they're going to be, but that's going to be amazing for creators when the AI can get so good that it just edits your videos. That's going to be an amazing time to be alive for sure.
Are you not scared though that it's going to replace you?
It's not going to. And actually, I think creatives have an advantage now during this time of AI because AI can only take you so far. It can't be you. And I think AI is going to be able to enhance your personality and your presence and your creativity rather than just replacing it. It's going to replace those tasky things that you want to do, or that you hate doing. Like I hate editing. I've always hated it. So like I'm actually looking forward to being able to have an artificial intelligence just do it for me.
Yeah, no, I got you. There are some programs I try to utilize as well for editing because on this specific channel, I hate editing.
Yeah.
Now, I enjoy the results of it because I'm like, man, I did a good job with this one. But I hate the process of it. I started a political channel and I have 3 videos.
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Oh, thank you. I'm going to check that out. I really enjoy editing those videos over there. But I use AI to try to edit some of my videos on this channel. And like you said, gets it close.
Yeah.
Just not close enough to the point where I want to rely on it 100%. I'm a little behind the curve, I think, when it comes to AI. I was dabbling into it with the voice AI.
Yeah.
I love that. ChatGPT came out, and now I'm a little scared because I'm like, I don't like this. It's moving too fast. A deep fake.
I agree.
Yeah, I even Googled deep fake porn. I'm not gonna lie, and I was like, man, this is actually really good. Like, what's happening here? Like, it's getting very scary, and it's making me a little nervous. But I haven't paid for any actual platform. I do use ChatGPT sometimes, even at work. Sometimes I'm like, I'll write some comments, and I was like, copy, paste it over there. I was like, make it sound more professional.
Yep.
and then it writes it, and it does work. Since you pay for ChatGPT, do you see a difference in the free version versus the paid version? Is there really a significant amount to justify $20?
I think so. It's faster. For one, the responses are faster. And two, I think that it does a better job at actually learning your personality. So, for example, like I have other clients. And so I have a specific chat for a client of mine to make LinkedIn and Twitter posts. And so every morning I'll go in there and be like, hey, it's that time of day again. Let's get a LinkedIn post up, and it just knows. Like, I don't have to tell it it's for this specific company anymore. I don't have to tell it, why I'm making this LinkedIn post. We know the objective. It knows everything, and it just puts it into, all I do is I take a news article and I'll be like, let's dissect this and figure out how we can make a good post about it. And it just does it. And I don't have to think about it anymore. And it's just amazing. Cause like now I get the opportunity to have potentially dozens of clients that I can do this for and make a ridiculous amount of money. And it's just all with the use of ChatGPT. It's just amazing. And I think it's a skill that not enough people are actually taking advantage of yet. And so I think that being an early mover on that certainly gives me the advantage.
Are you not afraid though, because you're getting into that space of social media management and you're using ChatGPT to assist you in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But are you a little concerned that when you're saying like, I could take an article, just put it in there and it can dissect it for me? Why would they need you then?
Because they still need to tell ChatGPT to do that. Like, is a business owner going to really want to take the time out of their day from the actual day-to-day business to worry about making social media posts? No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, hey, maybe they can have a machine that posts it for them too and all that stuff. And maybe that's coming down the pipeline. But right now, what I'm seeing is that people just don't have the time or don't want to take the time to create posts and make posts and know how SEO works and all of that. And they'd rather just pay somebody to do it so they can focus on other areas of their business.
Yeah, I will say this, probably the bigger companies will rely on, I guess, folks like you, where smaller companies small business probably just do it themselves. I think that was it's funny that you mentioned social media. I had a social media management company as well. Oh. So I got into it, and then COVID happened. That was like my first like little venture. I was like, I got really into it. It's a lot of work. A lot of people don't realize, especially SEO. SEO is a lot of work. So then I began to outsource. That's what I started doing with the SEO because it just takes so many hours.
Yeah.
But then COVID hit. But my target audience was local small businesses, and then clearly when COVID happened, half of them were down.
Yeah.
I still have the company. I just don't really do much with it. It's more of like a barter tool now I use for some of my kids' activities. Like they go to certain places, and I'm like, hey, I noticed your social media presence sucks. Your website sucks. It's like, you're not posting enough. That sucks. How about my kid goes here for free and I'll manage your stuff for you a couple hours a week and stuff. So you'd be surprised. A lot of people are willing to do that. So folks out there, that's a hack for you. If you shorten cash or you just want to save money and you have kids who are into a lot of stuff, sometimes just talk to the business owner, especially if it's a small business, be like, hey, do you want to do a barter system? And the barter system will usually work. So you'd be surprised. A lot of people say, absolutely, that's time that I could free up to do what I'm doing here. Yeah, you manage it. I'll train your kid or whatever. So that definitely works. So that's awesome though. I'm glad that's working for you. I may pay for it one day in ChatGPT and try it out. When it comes to like the Midjourney and stuff, I'm not very good with that because you need certain prompts, I've noticed. Yeah. And but some people do amazing work with it. It's just a scary space to be in. And especially with the stock market, I feel like every single earnings call is now like AI, right? So the stock wants to go up, just mention AI. If Tattoo Chef wants to get out of the dollar range, just say they're getting into AI, and it will go up. So I think a lot.
And I mean, when cannabis was a thing, everybody talked about cannabis, and every stock.
There you go.
When crypto was a thing, same. So AI is just the latest thing. I think, though, that we're still very much in the early stages of this quote unquote bubble, and I think it's going to be around for a long, long time.
But do you agree that it is a bubble?
Not yet. I think that we're working our way to that. I think that if this hype continues for the next 6 months or so, then the bubble narrative for me personally is going to get much louder. But I don't think we're anywhere near a bubble or any sort of bubble bursting quite yet.
Okay. I think, I feel like it's going to crash by the end of the year. I could be wrong on this one. And I don't mean crash. I mean, like, I think we will see the real players in the next couple of quarters of who's really in the forefront of AI. Yep. And I think it's going to be the same companies that are in the forefront of a lot of stuff. I think it's going to be Microsoft. Google needs to definitely spend more time with that. Meta, yeah, NVIDIA, of course, yeah, NVIDIA chip, AMD. But like, I think Meta is they put a lot of money into the virtual reality space. Mm-hmm. I still think they're forefront of it. They're not doing a great job at it. I've seen some other cool stuff. I don't know if you're into VR or not, but I think it's called Chat VR. It's so much better than Meta's platform, unfortunately. But because we have Meta at work, there's a lot of stuff that we do at work with futuristic stuff. So Meta is like our virtual reality thing, and it's pretty cool. They're the Oculus and stuff. But I've seen some better products that have come through where I'm like, oh, this is like way better than what Mark is doing. I don't understand why he's not looking at these other companies, seeing what they're doing. Even I got to meet the Snap CEO. Oh, Snapchat. Wow. Yeah, he came to my job. Nice guy and stuff. They were working on something. But yeah, so anyways, with the AI stuff, it's definitely an interesting space. Are you looking to invest into more companies that are in the AI space? Or are you going to strictly stick with mostly Microsoft?
I think Microsoft is going to be it for me. I mean, unless I feel like taking a stab at something that I can afford the risk on, right? Because like outside of the major players, as you mentioned, I think it's speculative at best. Mm-hmm. Because it's still very much early. And that's why I feel like we're not quite in a bubble yet, because it's still too early to make that call. So unless something truly special comes around, then I think I'll probably just stick with the major players.
All right. Awesome. Well, listen, Brad, thank you so much for coming on, man. We've talked for quite a bit. I had a great conversation. Thank you so much.
You too, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Tell people where they can find you.
You can go find me anywhere on social media at Own the Chaos. And of course, you can go find me at Own the Chaos Investing on YouTube. I go live as much as I can and try to do it every day at the close to cover earnings mostly. That's kind of my bread and butter. So if you guys are curious about earnings, reacting to earnings, and just having some fun talking about stocks, you can go find me over there.
Absolutely. So again, everyone, definitely go over there, check him out. If you want to support him, go to his Patreon as well. It's going to be all in the description below. And until next time, everyone, Brad, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate you and have this conversation. Until next time, y'all. Peace out.
See you guys.